It almost felt like a dream. I woke up to my dog, Lucy, barking. She was upright on the bed where my husband and I were sleeping with our 22-month-old daughter. Staring at our door like an unknown stranger was out there rummaging around. I thought she was just freaking out over house noise. We'd only had her for 3 months and she was still a puppy. It could have been anything: a roommate, a creak from the house settling, the awnings moving out in the breeze. I wasn't too concerned initially. I decided the best bet would be to open the door and show her nothing was there. It sounds a bit silly, but it's what we do with our daughter when she gets scared. And I figured it should work with the puppy too. I opened the door and she raced to the front door. She stood there, snarling at the door. It was an angry, violent growl, one I had never heard her make before. I looked groggily at her and opened the baby gate blocking the doorway, planning to open the door and show her everything was a-okay. The second my hand reached for the deadbolt, Lucy went wild. She started barking and jumping towards me, and when I touched the metal, she suddenly changed her temper. She whimpered, almost like she was afraid and backing down. As her mannerism changed, so did mine. I wasn't calm anymore. My heart was racing and sinking at the same time. I had been flooded with a mixture of fear and dread. I looked through the peephole. I can't explain why I looked, but I did. Outside were 2 kids. One was just a smidgen shorter than me and didn't look much younger. I'm 21 and she looked to be 16 or maybe 17. She was slender and pale. Her hair was a light shade of honey blonde, and she wore it long, about mid-back with long, thin, blunt bangs in the front that covered most of her eyes. She wore jeans, a light wash that's popular right now, and a thin-looking olive-colored pullover style hoodie. She held the hand of a small girl who looked to be around 3 or 4, in the same style of jeans and the button-down ivory cardigan. The smaller one looked at the floor shyly but had the same shade of hair tied back in a ponytail. She held a stuffed toy under her free arm and it was identical to one my daughter has, as was their style of dress. Had it not been for the feeling of overwhelming dread and fear, I probably would have asked these children in and given them some tea or hot chocolate to get them out of the pit of cold. Something about them seemed off. At this point, I hadn't made any noise. I hadn't shushed the dog or grumbled anything. I hadn't turned on any lights. This kid had no indicators I was at the door. The older one spoke. She had a voice that was mature, confident, strong, and accentless. She held her head tilted down, and I couldn't see her eyes. She said, "We have to use your phone." I stood frozen in fear. How did she know I was there? She raised her head to face me directly, and that was when I saw her eyes. There was a reason I couldn't see them through her bangs before. They were black. They were black or midnight blue or a dark, dark purple. They were otherworldly, she said. "Our mother is worried." As someone who's always been interested in creepy stories, I knew what she was the second she looked at me through the door. I have never been one to believe in these things. As a staunch atheist and skeptic when it comes to the paranormal, I had written off many ghost stories from friends, family members eager to tell their tales. I didn't believe it. Still, I couldn't rationalize my way out of this. I was standing with nothing but a thin wooden door between me and the black-eyed kid. There was no questioning what was right in front of me, and obviously I did not answer her. Slowly and silently, I backed away from the door. Lucy still cowering at my ankles. She kept talking. "Just let us in to use your phone." I took another step back, and with that step, the tone changed. At first, she seemed polite. When I took that second step back, she became commanding, almost hostile. "We're not going to hurt you. If you wanted to do that, you would have broken in. I'll ask again. May we come in and use your phone?" Lucy snarled at the door and I inched backwards, though something inside me seemed to be slowly pulling them back towards the door. It wasn't a physically pulling so much as a subconscious needed to go back in and let them in. I got to my room, covered up the window, locked the door, and sat there in the dim light of the nightlight. I heard her call me back at the door once more and then quiet. I didn't go back to sleep that night and I haven't slept right since. I know from reading about them that black-eyed kids can't just come in without permission. I know they haven't hurt anyone, but I still fear I'll be the exception. When I told my husband, he said it was just a dream. He keeps telling me to forget it. But this lingering feeling of sadness, this dread when the house is silent at night, this fear of a knock at the door, this really tells me otherwise. I was riding the bus back home after work. It was about 1 a.m. I'm a security guard and often work odd hours, so I'm sitting there and this guy gets on, sits across from me. He was wearing a suit, had a briefcase, and was a regular looking guy in his 20s. What struck me about him at first was that he was chewing a cigar. Like literally chewing it, not smoking it. You can't smoke on the bus, so I was just looking at him while he stared out the window and chewed his cigar, and all of a sudden, he turned and looked at me. His eyes were pitch black. My heart started beating like a mad motherfucker, and I felt my gorge rising. I was starting to panic and I had no idea why. I was just pants-shittingly terrified of this guy. Then, he grinned at me, and his teeth were all covered in tobacco bits and brown juice. The cigar clumped between them. I almost screamed, but instead, I had the presence of mind to just get up and take the seat right behind the driver. Calmed down a bit after that, but I kept an eye on the guy. He ended up chatting with some girl that got on, and they were still talking when I got off. I later convinced myself he was just trolling me, having fun with a pair of contacts, but now I really wonder. So alright folks, buckle up because we've just been on a roller coaster ride through the realms of the bizarre and downright terrifying. First up, we had the Midnight Color Tale. I mean, seriously, who knew a simple nightmare disturbance could turn into a full-blown encounter with the black-eyed kids? Now, of course, not the black-eyed thing that you guys might be thinking of, but literally like a pitch-black color of their eyes. I'm not sure if I should be impressed by the protagonist's quick thinking or absolutely terrified at the thought of those creepy children lurking around. And maybe they'll be in front of your door, maybe, just maybe, you know. And then just when we thought we could catch our breath, we're hit with the bus encounter story. A regular guy with pitch black eyes and a green smeared with tobacco? Yeah, that's nightmare fuel right there. Honestly, I think I'll be avoiding buses at 1 a.m. from now on because these stories have left me questioning everything. So let's hope the next sale gives us a chance to catch our breath. Only if we can. March 17, 2008. I had my one and only encounter with the black-eyed kid. Before my experience, I had never heard of anything having to do with black-eyed kids. I mean, come on, I was 12. So back then I was sitting outside of a hairdresser's in an old Chevy pickup, waiting for my mom to get a haircut. About 15 minutes had passed and I saw some kid walking back and forth alongside the sidewalk, in front of our parked car. At first, I thought I recognized him as one of my friends from school, so I banged the front windshield until he looked my way. But it was not anyone I knew. At this point, I was not scared at all. At least not yet. The boy walked over to the side of my car and just stared. I think it will let me get a good look at his eyes. To freak me out. Let me tell you. If you have never seen a black-eyed kid, you have no idea what to imagine. Pupils are black as the night sky. The boy whispers, "You must let me in. You must let me in." And then I locked the car doors and ducked down into the space below the seats. 5 minutes later, he was gone. So when my mother got into the car, she told me a boy with black eyes had come into the hairdressers and had insisted for my mother to give him the keys to the car. And for fuck's sake, thank God she refused. Holy shit! Talk about a close call. I mean, can you imagine staring into the abyss of those black eyes and hearing, "You must let me in"? I'd be locking those cars' door faster than you say nope. And who gives a random kid their car keys? Like, goddamn! Good job, mom. So this one time early in 2010, I was walking home from work and found myself escorting a young lady to her car. She asked me to escort her, and hoping I'd talk her into a drink or two, I had already had a few myself. I'd get a number of, I don't know, possibly get laid that night. I'm not going to lie, she was kinda hot. No shit though, she looked scared. I kept walking with her and was trying to at least coax out of her what she was so worried about. She would only comment about some really creepy looking kids who were following her. Being we were in the downtown Seattle area, this could amount to anything, literally anything. So we kept walking and talking. I kept looking behind us to see if the little fuckers were in tow. Nothing popped up out of the ordinary. Then she grabbed my arm really hard and whispered, "That's them." They were about one half a block in front of us, just standing there and creepily looking at her. So I did the prudent thing to do, which was cross the street. I make sure I lock eyes with the big one. That keep in mind once I get the lady out to her car that I'd give them an earful about being a couple of little shits for scaring a lone woman in a metropolitan area. I didn't get scared or anything, but did notice something strange. They literally didn't break eye contact with me. And mind you, I don't look like the kind of guy you want to fuck with. Honestly, it's an unconscious front since I'm a bit shy. My look reminds me people of either a skinhead or a club bouncer. And those motherfuckers are huge. The black tanker boots and Van Dyke mix with the above don't make me look like a people person either. People break eye contact with me constantly. But these kids are built different because they didn't break eye contact with me. Now that was a red flag for me. I finally got this woman to her car. She said thanks, and I made sure to tell her where the local police station was. The Seattle PD West precinct was only about 5 blocks from where we were at. Well, honestly, that's enough to give anyone the heebie-jeebies. Like walking through downtown Seattle, trying to play the hero for a damsel in distress, and then bam! Creepy kids with a knack for staring contest. Damn! So these stories have me rethinking answering the doorbells and avoiding eye contacts at all costs. But fear not, for the horrors of the nights are endless and who knows what stories awaits us in future episodes. Until then, remember to lock your doors and keep an eye out for those lurking shadows. Stay safe out there and may your dreams be free from nightmares. Good night.